ほら、ルフィ、今一緒に海賊になる仲間を探してるんだ。
Hello guys, welcome to my channel The Wandering Zoro, your go-to destination for anime-related content. And if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest videos. In today's video, we're going to be diving into part 1 of the series What If Deku Awakens a Stand That Could Stop Time. So be sure to stick around until the end, and let's get started. My name is Izuku Midoriya. I was a 14-year-old boy who was diagnosed as quirkless at a young age until one day something bizarre happened to me. Izuku was having an average day at Aldera's school. He didn't have many friends, so he mostly stuck to himself for the school day till he could go home and stay in his room for the rest of the day. He was currently all by himself watching hero videos on his phone while eating his school lunch until, "Hey Deku." One of Bakugo's lackeys approached Midoriya with some other kids. Yeah? Midoriya stuttered back. "There has been word going around Aldera that you plan to go to UA, is this correct?" The bully asked. Yeah? Izuku said, back afraid for what they are going to do to him after he said that. Why would a quirkless loser even consider going to UA in the first place? The bully. They got rid of that rule though. Izuku reminds them. What are you going to do when some big bad villain shows up then? Putting aside you surviving 1 month at UA, or even passing the entrance exams, would you just run away? The student slowly approached Midoriya, and with him being a couple inches taller than the green-haired boy, until he noticed a book in Izuku's hand. Is that a hero journal? PFF give me that the bully tried to snatch the book from Izuku, but Izuku grabbed onto it since he didn't want the bullies to break his book, so he tried hanging on to it until he and his book fell onto the floor with his book in hand. The bully sighed, "Why do you have to be such a bother, Deku? Now give it back." The bullies then approached Izuku slowly. Izuku didn't respond, which angered the bully even more. "I said give it back." The bully then went in for a punch, but suddenly Izuku heard a man come from behind him to punch the bully's hand so hard it broke and had vital fluid coming out of it. The bully yelled out in pain. "Oh my god, are you okay?" The other bullies came to his aid. "My hand, I think it's broken," the bully said in pain. "But I don't know what happened." Izuku stuttered in confusion. "Were you hiding some kind of ghost quirk or something, freak?" One of the bullies yelled. "What a ghost quirk? Didn't anyone see the purple guy who punched him?" Izuku tried telling the bullies, afraid. "There was no one there, dumbass. When he tried to get your stupid journal and suddenly broke his arm, so it must have been you." The bully says what they saw. "What?" Izuku said back, even more confused than before, and started slowly walking backwards before starting to sprint. "Hey, get back here." The bully noticed Midoriya trying to flee the scene. Toshinori Yagi, secretly All Might, the #1 hero in Japan, has been called in by his good friend at the police force Naomasa Tsukauchi. "Yagi, long time no see. Thanks for coming in." Naomasa greeted friendly. "No problem, Tsukauchi. Now what seems to be the problem?" the #1 hero asked. Apparently, a boy broke the bones of a couple of fellow classmates using his quirk despite being lab-led as quirkless in his records, and turned himself into the police saying that he had been possessed by an evil sentient quirk. Tsukauchi described the boy, who was Midoriya. I see. Yagi had a strange feeling about this boy. In a waiting room was Izuku's mother, Inko Midoriya. "Thank you for coming, officers. I have no idea what happened, but I know that my little Midoriya would never hurt a fly." Inko cries her eyes out as her tears flooded the room. "Miss, please calm down. We will cover this situation." Yagi tried to calm down the short woman, but the mother still fell to tears. The two then walked to the prison cell where Izuku Midoriya currently resides. "Izuku Midoriya, was it?" Yagi goes up to the boy in the cell. "Yes, sir," Izuku responds. "Can you explain the incident?" Yagi talked to the boy. "Well, I was being confronted by some of my classmates because I wanted to go to UA, but since I'm well quirkless, they saw that as a joke, and when one of them came closer, this sentient quirk appeared." Izuku used what he knew to summon his quirk, and it shocked Yagi. "My god." Yagi looked at the so-called sentient quirk. "What is it, Yagi?" Naomasa asked what was going on as he could no see the quirk. "That is no quirk, young Midoriya. You are a stand user," Yagi proclaimed. What?" Midoriya said, surprised. "A stand is the manifestation of our spirit and all have unique abilities. For example, I also possess a stand of my own known, which is also why I can see your stand, but the detective here can't." Yagi explains while showing off his own stand. "So it's not a quirk at all then?" Izuku looks at his stand while listening to Yagi. What about the classmates? Are they all right? Izuku asked. They are fine, just a few broken bones fixed by some quirk healers, and since you acted in self-defense with that stand thing, you will face no punishment, Naomasa explains. How did you know? Izuku asked back, since he doesn't like to speak badly of people and doubts that the bullies would be honest. I spoke to them earlier, and thanks to my quirk acting as a lie detector, we got them to admit to assaulting you, the detective explained. The doors were then lifted on Midoriya's prison cell. That means you're free to go too, Tsukachi added. Izuku's mother came barging in with tears, going into an embrace. I knew my sweet baby boy would never do such a thing. You should have talked to me about it. Inko yelled with a puddle of tears starting to surround the green-haired family. Mom, I'm fine. Izuku tried to calm down his mother, but was happy that everything went well in the end. Heck, he even got a new power that wasn't even a quirk. I don't want to be rude, but Izuku, Midoriya, can we speak in private after this? Yagi said while trying not to barge in on the reunion of mother and son. Oh sure, Izuku agreed. After everything was sorted and the sun was starting to set, Toshi and Izuku decided to speak on top of a rooftop. What would you like to speak about, Mr. Yagi? Izuku asked. First off, I would like to reveal a secret to you, that I am All Might. Suddenly, the frail and skeletal-like man turned into the buff #1 hero in the blink of an eye. What? Izuku yelled in confusion and mass surprise. Yes, it is true, young Midoriya. After a fight years ago, I was unable to use my full power for long periods, and I had to stay in this form to recharge my power in a way, All Might explained. Whoa, but why are you telling me this? Izuku wondered as All Might turned back into his skinny form. My own stand known as Hermit Purple allows me to see information by smashing something like a TV or camera, Yagi explained, while purple tentacles came out of Yagi's hand. But when I used it, a picture of an old nemesis. All for One appeared on them, and ever since he's consistently appeared in them alongside another figure behind him similar to that of a stand. Toshi reveals. Wait, All for One? I thought he was just a myth people made up, and he has a stand? Izuku says back. Indeed, young Midoriya, and I don't think I have the strength to fight him alone, which is why I'm assembling a group of stand warriors and asking you to be a part of it, All Might states. A group of stand warriors? Is there anyone else in this? Izuku asked. I have currently tracked down one stand user, and it would make two if you were to join. All Might offers a hand to Izuku. Izuku looks at the hand and thinks back to when he was first diagnosed quirkless and looked down upon for his disability, being told he would never be a hero for years and years, but he never gave up with his dream, and now this stand ability and offer from All Might gives him the opportunity he always wanted, to be a hero. Izuku grabbed onto the hand. Yes, sir. I will join. Izuku stutters with tears in his eyes, knowing for once in his life was going to be a part of something big. Midoriya had been learning more about his new stand ability thanks to All Might as they made a quick pitch stop to Mustafa Beach to test his strength on some junk cars. Not only is his stand extremely strong enough to throw cars as if they were a beach ball, but it is also really fast, being able to easily break the speed of light, and also has other abilities like supervision. A day had passed since the incident with the bullies, and Midoriya returned to school again, but he had found new popularity across the school. Once he entered class, he was surrounded by people. Yo, Midoriya. Deku. Sign this. What's your quirk? Were some of the words Midoriya could make out over the ocean of people over him. Huh. Midoriya said, feeling overwhelmed by everyone around him. He also noticed the bullies that tried stealing his notebook were weirdly absent. They must have had a large punishment. Everyone calm down. Midoriya has already gave me a headache from just yesterday, so I don't want one today, so all of you get back into your seats. The teacher yelled. The teacher continued, anyways, today class has a new student. Meet Yuga Aoyama. The teacher introduced the new student, as suddenly the door opened to see a smug blonde boy. Boundary everyone. I hope we can get on well, Aoyama says, making a polite bow. Huh, he must be an exchange student from France. I wonder what kind of heroes they have back there, Midoriya thought. You can have the seat next to Midoriya, over there. The teacher points at Izuku. Aoyama takes his seat, and everything seemed to be back to normal besides the occasional glare at Midoriya, which made the green-haired boy kinda weirded out. After class, Midoriya isolated himself once again from everyone. That lesson felt torturous. But you have to stay calm, Midoriya. You got a new power and an opportunity to become a hero, Izuku thought to himself as he let out a big sigh. Well, Izuku, Midoriya was it? Izuku jumped at the sudden voice, revealing it to be the new student, Aoyama. Oh, I don't think we've actually talked before. I'm Izuku Midoriya. Izuku introduces himself to the new kid. I'm Yuga Aoyama, if you didn't hear already. Aoyama says pridefully. I heard you got in a fight recently and got a new quirk. Aoyama slowly approached Midoriya, which made Midoriya worried about his intentions. Yeah, that happened. I guess I'm just a really late bloomer. Izuku tried to dismiss it by making a nervous chuckle. But it isn't a quirk, isn't it? I guess you can say it a stand? Aoyama said, shocking Midoriya that he knew of such a thing. Yuga then grabbed onto Izuku's arm, and a green tentacle started crawling up Izuku, and when it reached his ear, he knew he had to act. Izuku summoned his stand as it punched Yuga's and his stand back a few meters. You're a stand user. Izuku yelled back, getting into a defensive stance. Oh, well, it looks like that cat's out of the bag, Yuga replied snarkily before revolving his stand in full form, which was green with yellow eyes. You see, Eve been sent to take care of you before you can cause any more trouble. Aoyama states, shifting to an even more sinister tone and smirks. Your master? You mean All for One? That means you are a villain. Izuku states, indeed, now face the wrath of my emerald splash. Yuga then fires emeralds at Midoriya, who uses his own stand to cover himself from the damage, but the barrage became too much for Midoriya's stand to handle and was knocked down by the blast, being hit into a wall. Your stand only works from short ranges, which is perfect for a long-range stand like Hierophant Green. Aoyama states. Izuku gets up from the rubble with the button uniform, now open and flowing in the wind. My stand doesn't just hit hard, it's also fast and precise, Izuku said, summoning his stand once again to attack. That still won't work. Aoyama summoned his stand again to fire an emerald splash, but with Izuku stand's pure strength and speed, he was able to dodge and overpower the projectiles coming his way. What? That's impossible, Aoyama yelled. Now it's our chance. Izuku clenched his fist in sync with his stand as his stand with faster-than-light speeds grabbed onto Hierophant Green's neck. Aura! Izuku yelled as his stand using its other hand punched Hierophant Green, which in turn made Aoyama cough out by just the first punch. Aura, 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 aura. Izuku then followed up a lot more punches, sending Aoyama against the wall, cracking it behind. What a powerful stand, Aoyama said before passing out. Whoa, I went overboard. Midoriya freaked out as he called back his stand. Izuku was going to phone the police, but he thought All Might would better understand what was going on, so he picked up Aoyama and made a quick phone call to All Might. Sometime later, All Might had arrived to the scene shortly after getting the phone call. Ha, I am here. What is it, young Midori? Oh God. All Might then noticed the unconscious Aoyama and turned into his skinny form in sheer shock. Oh my God, young Midoriya, what happened? Toshi asked, shocked. It's not what it looks like. He was an enemy stand user who tried to attack me. He said he was following orders from All for One. Midoriya explained, trying to explain that he didn't bring All Might all this way to brag about how he beat up a French dude. All for One. This isn't good. If he already has this young man, then he must already have a large number of stand users with him, and he somehow already knows about my plan. Toshi worries. We should probably take him to hospital before we discuss anything else, Toshi said after realizing how much damage Aoyama had taken from Izuku's stand. After taking him to hospital, the doctors found something strange on the boy's head. A parasite? All Might questioned, seeing the doctor show a parasite covered by Aoyama's hair. Indeed, Mr. Yagi. It seems to be a parasite, most probably from a quirk, asked the doctor. Well, it's something like that, mind if we be alone, doctor? Yagi asked the doctor. Oh yes, sir, the doctor accepted and left, leaving Izuku and Yagi with Aoyama. This is definitely the work of All for One, using a flesh bud of sorts to take over this young boy's body, All Might explain to Izuku. So he is working for All for One against his own will, Izuku says, sad for Aoyama. Maybe if the doctors get rid of it, he would turn back to normal, which may take a few hours worth of surgery, Yagi suggested. Maybe, Midoriya thought, but suddenly had an idea as he went towards Aoyama's bed. Young Midoriya, what are you doing? All Might questioned. My stand is preciser than most professional surgeons, so this should be easy. Midoriya summoned his stand and started the removing of the parasite, but suddenly the flesh bud tried fighting back, attempting to take control of Izuku by going inside his arm and up his neck. Come on, I just need a little more time, Izuku said as he was finally about to remove the flesh bud, but the tentacle of the parasite climbed further and further to his brain, until he finally does it and snatches it out of Aoyama Oware. Yells Izuku's stand, and it flies out. Yagi uses his quick reflexes to eradicate the flesh bud overdrive. Yagi activates a strange new ability that destroys it. Whoa, All Might, what was that? I thought your stand was spirit photography? Asked Izuku, not recognizing that ability. It's called Hammon, an ancient ability I learned from my own master long ago, and I intend to teach you this during our training, All Might explains. Whoa, Izuku gasped as he looks at Aoyama. Don't worry, young Midoriya, he is in safe hands. You should probably be getting back to school before your lunch breaks over, Toshi suggests, looking at his watch. Oh, looks like you have 5 minutes of break left, Toshi said. Oh no, I totally forgot about school. Izuku yells, running out of the hospital at high speeds, which makes Yagi chuckle. Oh, that boy is something else, Toshi says to himself, which made him consider a few things. Is he a worthy successor? All Might kept that thought at the back of his mind for now, as he wants to focus on the Aoyama situation for right now at least. After finishing school for the day, he went back to the hospital, and when he came through the door, he saw All Might sitting next to the awake Aoyama. Oh, Izuku Midoriya, was it? My memory is a little foggy, especially after you slammed your fist into my head a good 100 times, Aoyama asks. Oh yeah, that's me, sorry about that. Izuku rushed over, putting his bag on the floor as he went up to Aoyama. Why, Aoyama said quietly. Why what? Izuku replied back, confused. Why did you save me, Yuga questioned. Well, it's because it's what a hero should do. It's not like I'm gonna let you rot in a prison for being mind-controlled, Izuku sighed back. Young Aoyama, do you know what happened before you were controlled by All for One? Yagi asked. Yes, I remember exactly. Since I was a boy, I was ridiculed for being quirkless, and my parents, not wanting me to face any more discrimination, went to All for One for help. But instead of giving me a quirk, he pierced me with some kind of golden arrow, which gave me this stand ability, and ever since I worked as a loyal servant to All for One, Aoyama said. If I ever stepped out of line, he would have killed my parents, and to assure my absolute loyalty, he implemented that flesh bud into me, and I don't know what would happen to them now since I failed and betrayed him, Aoyama continued to tell his backstory, as he fell to tears, hugging Yagi. Midoriya also felt Aoyama's story of discrimination all too well. Young Aoyama, it's okay, we will help you find your parents and take down All for One for good, Toshi tells the young boy. Aoyama wipes away his tears. Thank you, Aoyama stutters as the tears soaked All Might's right shoulder. Also, again, sorry for beating you up so hard, Midoriya apologizes, trying to do a fake laugh. Aoyama chuckles at Midoriya's attempt to make small talk. Hee. It's no problem, I was the one trying to murder you after all, Aoyama replied back. Suddenly the door opened to show a teenager with a mutant bird quirk walk in. Mr. Yagi, is it alright to come in? Said the unknown bird boy who seemed to know All Might. Oh yes, of course, Tokoyami. Boys, this is Fumikage Tokoyami. He will be joining you in your training, Yagi explained. Hi, I'm Izuku Midoriya. Yuga Aoyama. The two stand users introduced themselves. It's an honor to meet you both, Tokoyami says. Did you bring the cards, young Tokoyami? Yagi asked. Oh, of course. Yagi put down his black backpack on the ground to reveal a deck of tarot cards. What are those for, All Might? Izuku asked. These tarot cards will give our stands names. Aoyama already has his, but us three haven't, All Might says. Is this really necessary? Tokoyami asked, feeling this was too chessy for him to do. Not really, but it makes us sound cooler. Yagi said, jokingly, half-jokingly. All three of them picked out a card. Izuku picked the star card, meaning his name is Star Platinum. Star Platinum, super strength, speed, and sight. Toshi picked the Hermit card, meaning his name will be Hermit Purple. Hermit Purple allows the user to perform spirit photography and also use vines as a whip. Tokoyami picked out the Magician, meaning his stand name will be Magician's Red. Magician's Red, a stand which also not just physically powerful, but also possesses the power to control fire. Dark Shadow doesn't like him very much because of that. Aoyama already had his stand name, and its name is Hierophant Green. Hierophant Green, long-range projectile stand, which can also shrink into things as small as a human ear, which allows them to even take control of people. Some days had passed since Aoyama was rescued from All for One's control, and Midoriya, Aoyama, and Tokoyami became a part of All Might's new team of stand users. Since Aoyama now had nowhere to go, Midoriya offered Aoyama to stay with him, which Aoyama accepted, and went to Midoriya's after leaving the hospital. "Midoriya, are you sure it's alright to stay at yours? I could just ask All Might for a hotel to stay in, or something," Aoyama says, stressed. "Of course, no one is more understanding and nice," as my mother Izuku said. When they reached the Midoriya household, they knock on the door to see Inko. "Midoriya. Izuku, where have you been? I've been worried that." "Oh, who's this?" Inko says, surprised that Izuku seemingly brought a friend home. "Well, let's just say he might be staying here for a while, if that's okay," Izuku began to explain, telling her, as he makes a quick glare at Aoyama, making sure it's okay to tell her, which he nods in approval. "Aoyama is a friend of mine, and his family, well, has been taken by villains, and he really needs a place to stay. Is that all right, Mom?" Midoriya asked his mother. "Oh dear, how tragic. I'm so sorry, Yugman." Inko wipes a tear away with her hand. "You can stay here as long as you like, dear," Inko says, placing her hand on Aoyama's shoulder. Thank you," Aoyama says, falling to tears, going to hug Inko, with Izuku smiling in the background. Maybe a perennial figure is what he needs right now, considering his current family situation, Midoriya thought. "We don't really have an extra room, so Izuku, would it be alright if he were to stay in your room?" Inko asked her son. "Oh sure, no problem," Midoriya nervously chuckled, not knowing how someone would react to his current room. Aoyama quickly wiped the tears away. "Hey, anyways, let's see what your room has in store." Aoyama quickly shifted in tone as he walked into the hallway and towards his room. "Hey, hold on." Midoriya tried to make Aoyama avoid the room, but it seems to be late. He was betting on his mom keeping him occupied long enough to move his stuff away. He opened the door to see Midoriya's room full of All Might merchandise. "Ooh, you have quite the amount of All Might memorabilia, don't you, Midoriya? I bet all of this could sell for thousands," Aoyama said, examining all the merch to a comical extent. "Hee, yeah," Midoriya replied, awkwardly not liking what Aoyama is suggesting. It seems after letting out his emotion on Inko has relaxed Aoyama a lot. While in combat and serious situations, he takes up a more serious attitude. Outside of it, he is a light-hearted French man. Aoyama got to stay in Midoriya's room and become roommates. They attended school together like nothing had ever happened and became each other's first actual friends in a long time, which really benefited both Aoyama and Midoriya's social behavior into becoming less introverted. But after school had ended, they got a call from All Might, who requested them alongside Tokoimi to meet by Mizudafa Beach. "You're probably wondering why I gathered you all here," for All Might said to his fellow stand users. "Is it another stand user?" Aoyama asked. "Well, sort of," Yagi tried explaining. "Around 3 weeks ago, the pro-hero known as Ingenium was killed by the hero killer Stain," All Might says, which saddens the 3 young stand users. "Yeah, it was really sad to hear of his demise," Izuku said, reminiscing back to a couple of weeks ago when he saw on the news. Online. "Stain, I feel like I have heard that name before." Aoyama thought back to when he was controlled by All For One. Yes, he believes heroes are only in it for the money, thus resulting in the death of Ingenium and his young brother. Tenya Ida has gone rouge for vengeance for his brother, and when any hero finds and tries to detain him, they report as if an invisible person was attacking them and causing serious cuts, All Might explained. "Does that mean the younger Ida has a stand?" Midoriya asked, realizing why All Might brought them all here. "Yes, indeed, young Midoriya, and with our own stands we should be able to identify and detain him. There have been reports in the last few hours of where young Ida is, plus I feel a strange press sense from where they report it from," Yagi explained. "Maybe stand users attract other stand users," Izuku theorizes. "Quite a possible theory, young Midoriya," Yagi thought Oswell. "Wait, before we do anything, Mr. Yagi, I want to ask, why can't you just take him down with your incredible strength?" Aoyama asked. "That's a good question, young Aoyama. While I do have the power on my side, I'm on a tight time limit with it, and I can only use it for a couple of hours per day, so I have already gone past my max for today," All Might explains. Now bringing his attention back to the Ida situation, is everyone ready for the task ahead of them? Izuku first looks worried, but regains composure. "Yeah, I'm ready." Tokoimi speaks calmly. "All right, let's do this." Aoyama thinks about the Ida, about how worried they must about their son. He can't let another person lose a family. "Yes. Let's save Tenya Ida." The orange sky turned a deep black, and in the streets of a city was a blue-haired teenager. This teenager being Tenya Ida. He hasn't slept in how many days? It doesn't matter. It only matters that he finds the monster that killed his brother. Suddenly, he heard footsteps around the alleyway he was in. "Who is there?" Ida yells out. The silence is deadly until suddenly an emerald splash by Aoyama came from behind Ida. What the silver chariot? Ida then summoned his own stand, who used its blade to cut the projectiles into different pieces, but it didn't stop, as Ida and Silver Chariot had to turn back around to slice up more projectiles. The four stand users came out of hiding. That emerald splash was supposed to knock him out. I must have underestimated his speed, Aoyama stated. Listen, Ida, we understand why you went on a hunt for the hero killer, but this is not the way, Midoriya says, trying to solve the conflict diplomatically. Gore, shut up. You don't understand nothing. Now get out of my way. Ida yells out in frustration, summoning Silver Chariot to attack the four stand users. Leave this to me, Izuku said, charging into battle among Star Platinum. Midoriya, wait. Yagi tried stopping Midoriya, but it's too late. Ore, Star Platinum yelled out as his fist became a blur by fast he was punching. Hora, Silver Chariot yelled out, swinging the blade at high speeds to try and stab Midoriya. Ida quickly realized he underestimated Star Platinum's power and quickly shifted to the defenses, blocking the aura barrage, with his sword with him, cutting Izuku in some areas before the two separate. Ida's stand is fast, maybe as fast as Star Platinum, but his stance is thinner and more flexible, which is a big problem in young Midoriya landing a hit. If Star Platinum were to get a hit in, and it would be over, Yagi thought. Aoyama, Tokoyami, quickly surround us with your stance. Yagi yelled back, which confused the two, but they quickly realized what they needed to do. Magician's Red, Hierophant Green. The two users yelled, doing two different things. Hierophant Green first made a web around the alleyway, while Magician's Red made a ring of fire around Izuku and Tenya. Midoriya turned around for a moment to look at the ring and gives his teammates a thankful smile. Now you have no place to dodge, just a ring, which is fine by me, Izuku says with an unexpected grin, which makes Ida grunt. Aura. Izuku summons Star Platinum for another aura barrage. Silver Chariot. Ida summons Silver Chariot again, but he less place to dodge. If he moves out the way, he would dodge the punches, but suffer the flames of Magician's Red or the Hierophant Green webs, causing large amount of damage. Silver Chariot was then grabbed by the purple whip of Hermit Purple, further restricting his movements. Do it now, young Midoriya. Yagi yelled, struggling to hold on to Ida. Silver Chariot couldn't hold on for any longer, and Star Platinum broke through Ida's defenses. I'm sorry for this, but it's the only way, Midoriya said before he began attacking. Star Platinum yelled as it hit Ida many times over before sending him straight through a fence and knocking over a trash can, but shocking to everyone, he still got up. I still have one more thing up my sleeve, says an exhausted and beaten Ida, just barely getting up. Silver Chariot, armor off. Ida yelled as Silver Chariot's armor came off. What? Izuku stuttered in shock. This is the evolved state of my Silver Chariot. Try and catch up with it if you can. Ida let out a tired smile. Ida decided to show off his power to Midoriya and went fast enough to create afterimages, which made Izuku unable to find the real Silver Chariot. Am I here? Or here? Or here? Many Silver Chariot afterimages said. When he thought he had him, he summoned Star Platinum. He punched where he was, but when Star Platinum's punch reached its target, it was already gone and was cut in multiple places by Silver Chariot, which made him cringe back in pain. Oh no, I can't keep up his stand anymore. The only option left is to predict where it's going to be, Izuku thought. Here I come, Ida says as he charged in with his blade and striked. Izuku tried to stop the blade with Star Platinum, but it was too late as the blade penetrated through Midoriya's stomach. Izuku said as he spit out vital fluid from his mouth and called back Star Platinum. Midoriya. Everyone yelled in horror. No, I need to get in there. Ga now, Yagi said, slowly starting to transform into his buff form as steam appeared around him, but he is clearly beyond his time limit today. You were stupid to challenge me, and now you will die. Ida laughed evilly as he tried jamming the blade in more. Ida let out a sinister smile, but against all odds, Midoriya grabs a hold of the blade in his stomach and aura. Izuku summoned Star Platinum with everything he had and needs Silver Chariot's blade breaking into two pieces. What? Ida stuttered in shock. Midoriya did it. He broke Silver Chariot's blade, and now his stand can't fight back. Aoyama says happily. Great, young Midoriya, finish the fight. Yagi yelled as he stopped transforming. Finish the job with the last amount of energy you have, Midoriya. Tokoyami yelled in support. With all the encouragement from his friends alongside his pure determination pushing through the wounds, he took a deep breath and charged forward. Aura, 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 aura. Izuku let out the strongest barrage of punches he could muster. Aura. With one final punch, Ida was defeated. Midoriya then looked back to his friends with a smile. Mission complete, he said, smiling before falling unconscious. Midoriya. Everyone yelled in concern as the last thing Midoriya could see was everyone rushing to his aid. Midoriya woke up hours later in the UA nursing room to see All Might. Midoriya, thank God you are all right, All Might said with happiness. Where is Ida? Izuku said while getting out of bed and felt a sudden pain as he noticed his stomach. Wound hasn't fully healed yet. He's in care too, and I think there is something for you to see when you get better, Yagi mentions. I should probably be seeing it now. Izuku continued to get up despite his condition and put his school uniform back on, but leaving the buttons undone. Young Midoriya, you should stay down. You overexerted yourself in that battle, All Might says, trying to stop Midoriya from hurting himself. Gana, I can cope with it, Midoriya said, pushing on. Izuku entered Ida's room to see Aoyama and Tokoyami sitting by an unconscious Ida. Midoriya, it's good to see you back, Aoyama says, happy. We weren't sure if you would be walking for another week considering those stab wounds, Tokoyami says, examining Midoriya. Nah, I'm good, All Might said. There is something I need to see, Midoriya says. Oh yeah, indeed. Young Ida seems to have the same flesh bud as what Aoyama had. Toshi came in the room and brought up Ida's hair to see the parasite. You are the only one capable of taking out the flesh bud, but considering your state, we could probably wait, Tokoyami says. That All for One must have gotten to him before us, Toshi says, angered. No, I can do it now, actually, Izuku says, bringing out Star Platinum to perform the same thing he did to Aoyama, but now on Ida. With experience with Aoyama's flesh bud, he is able to much quickly than he had done with Aoyama. Aura. Star Platinum quickly snatches the flesh bud out. Overdrive. Yagi uses Hammond to disintegrate the flesh bud. Ida then woke up from being unconscious right after jumping straight up, as if he awoke from a terrible nightmare. Where am I? Ida says, not knowing where he was. You are at the nursing room at UA. You are safe now, Yagi said. Young Ida, could you tell us what happened to you beforehand? Yagi asked. Well, after my brother was killed by that monster, the hero killer, I went for vengeance, leaving my family home and roaming the same streets my brother was killed in for the hero killer, and after collapsing in the middle of street from exhaustion, a man in a suit met me in the alleyway and offered to help me, Ida tells his past. All for One, Yagi guessed. Yes, he offered help and guidance to take down the hero killer, and that was when some kind of parasite came at me, and from that day forward it made me devoutly loyal to All for One. Thank you all for saving me. But I would like to turn myself into the police. I've hurt people. A lot of people who were trying to save me, but I pushed them away, Ida further explained. Ida, it's alright, we have all made mistakes, but you should join us and help take down All for One, Aoyama said with hope in his eyes, something Ida could see. We could also bring the hero killer down along the way. Tokoyami joined in the conversation, trying to motivate Ida. I believe everyone deserves a chance at being a hero, and you ain't no exception, Midoriya said with a weak smile. You did a number on me back there, and I don't want to see that power and potential go to waste, Midoriya further added, smiling, as well as he reached out his hand as an invitation. Ida looked at the hand in shock that all of his crimes were forgiven and reached out and grabbed onto Midoriya's hand. Alright, I'll join you and take down All for One and the hero killer, Ida said with determination in his eyes. Ida, now a part of the group, was then briefed about everything from All Might's identity and getting to know his new teammates. In your story, you mentioned an arrow. Aoyama had the same story with getting pierced by an arrow by All for One, meaning that's the way both you and young Aoyama got stands. Meanwhile, Midoriya must have been born with one, and it hadn't manifested until Midoriya was at a certain age. Meanwhile, I got mine through a sheer profession, which was Hammond breathing. And I got mine due to my own quirk, Dark Shadow, being so similar to a stand that it must have made it easier for mine to manifest, Tokoyami adds. If All for One can make a stand user with just a single arrow, then we could be up against an army of stand users, Aoyama says, worried. Indeed, but not to worry. We will overcome the odds and defeat them, All Might says to raise morale. Yeah, we can do this, Izuku spoke up. Let's show that freak the power of the Stardust Crusaders. All Might went on to name the group. Hee hee, cool, Midoriya nervously chuckles. What a stupid name, I like it, Tokoyami says with a smirk, with everyone smiling back. Stands users attract other stand users. Izuku said these words shortly before going to find Ida, and Yagi had been thinking a lot about that for a while. What if there was more stand users who can become our allies? Maybe track them down before All for One gets their hands on them. Hyokujiro seemed to be a fairly normal teenage girl. She liked music and had bright dreams of wanting to be a hero. Who else wouldn't in this world? But she has something that no one can see, a strange spirit that looks like a bug that has the power of sound. She calls it echoes. Jiro wasn't exactly the most social girl in school, but having this strange ability which no one else had kinda made her feel isolated from everybody else, sometimes even her parents. Jiro was currently on her way back from school after a long day. She was making her usual route back from school until he heard someone in the alleyway. Hey girl, a man in his adult years suddenly spoke to her, and he was wearing a clock and had a walking stick, meaning he was probably blind or just very old. Huh, who are you? Asked the teen rudely. Well, I have a very generous offer to make you. Well, who do you take me for? I'm not talking to creeps like you. PSS off, Jiro said, decided to ignore the man. Oh, come on, we have stuff to talk about. While the stranger was talking, he was slowly approaching closer and closer to Jiro until suddenly he was sucker punched in the face, sending him to the wall. I said, F off, you weirdo. Jiro yelled at the top of her lungs. Hee, you have an ability most people can't see, don't ya? The man then laughed when getting up, which surprised Jiro. Suddenly the ground began shacking below Jiro, and a blue liquid came out of the ground right at Jiro. What the? Jiro said as she barely was able to dodge the water hitting her, but it instead hit the nearby lamp post, cutting right through it. What kind of quirk is that? Jiro said, but the water came right back at her almost automatically, striking her shoulder, causing immense pain. Ah, Jiro screamed in pain. It is no quirk, dear. It's a stand much like yours. Now come easily, and you won't suffer a painful death, the stranger said. Just who the hell are you? Asked the in pain Jiro. Well, dear, you can just call me Zatoichi. Now have you reconsidered your options yet? Zatoichi asked teasingly. How the hell is he tracking me without his eyes, unless yes, he must have super hearing or something? Jiro said as she clutches her injured arm. With my ability, maybe I could distract him with it and go in for an attack, Jiro said as she activated her stand echoes. Echoes went to a nearby trash can and punched the words tread, which produced the same sound as the word. Seconds later, the water ability jumped up to cut right through the trash can. What? It's a fake? The stranger said in shock, giving Jiro a golden opportunity. Now is my chance. Jiro charged in at the man and summoned her echoes to punch the stranger in the face, sending him down to the floor, and had the word screech, which creates a loud and extremely irritating noise similar to that of a teacher scraping their nails on a whiteboard. I yelled the stranger in extreme irritation, but with a good idea of where. Jiro as he sent out his stand again to try and slash her, but she managed to dodge, but still got hit by it, coming by hitting her cheek, making her lose focus, thus letting go of Echo's effect on the stranger. Oh no, I lost focus and lost my last chance of beating the guy. I got no other choice but to run. Jiro realizes and makes an escape. She makes the quick decision to retreat, summoning echoes to help her, busting a sewer lid open and going below. Oh no, you don't. The stranger chases down the teenage stand user. Jiro runs and hides behind a sewer wall and rips a bit off her school uniform to form a bandage on her arm. Great. I lose my last opportunity to beat the guy, and where do I lead him? The sewers. The sewers where he can use his power better, Jiro talks down to herself. Suddenly, she heard stepping noises coming up. It must be the stranger. Echoes. Jiro summoned her stand, but it turned to stone. What? Why is Echoes turned to stone? Jiro said in a panicked tone. Kyoto Jiro. I would have just kidnapped and let the boss brainwash you, but after all the trouble you have caused me, I think it's better for you to just die. The stranger yelled. Suddenly, the shell of Echoes cracked, shocking the both of them. When it broke, it revealed Echoes in a whole new level. A new act, you could say. Jiro smiled. It's evolved. All right, let's do this. Echoes Act 2. She smiled with newfound determination and courage as she named her newly evolved stand. A stand that can evolve. Never mind, the boss will love this. The stranger smiles heavily as he approached her until he stood on a dirty wrapper on the floor with the words whoosh on it, and he suddenly was blown away with a strong wind, crashing into the wall and dropping his cane, making it much harder for the villain to catch Jiro. Her stand is far more powerful than before. The stranger stuttered as he catched his breath. Jiro approached the villainous stranger, slowly looking down at him. Listen, kid, he'll let you go scot-free. How about that? The villain offered, clearly trying to beg. I'm not stupid, and as an aspiring hero, I know what to do with you, Jiro said with a cocky grin as she pulled out headphones from her backpack. They are pretty soundproof after all, so it would be perfect to basically make him unable to use his stand ability, although his stand still tried weakly trying to approach Jiro. Oh, better take care of this, Jiro said, taking something else out of her backpack, a bottle which she then traps the stand in. Later on, police had heard a report of a man stuck in rope, headphones, and a bottle next to him with the words warning. Really bad sentient quirk in here, do not open. The police quickly arrived to the scene. The stranger had been identified as a villain who had been abducting young teenagers into villain groups, and was quickly arrested. Jiro smirked from afar, and was proud that she had defeated that creep. A day had passed, and Jiro was walking back from school with her shoulder and cheek bandaged up from the damage caused by that weirdo's stand. Suddenly, she heard something fast approach her. Ha ha ha. The all-so-iconic laugh was recognizable to anyone. It was All Might himself. All Might suddenly touched down on the floor right behind Jiro. Whoa, All Might. Jiro stuttered in shock at the number one hero right in front of her. Suddenly, the number one hero shrank into a skeleton man. What the? Are you have some kind of imposter quirk or stand? Jiro said, surprised, suddenly summoning Echo's Act 2. No, young lady, that isn't the case. Yes, this is the real All Might. I was injured in a battle long ago, but that isn't the point of me being here, Yagi said, waving his hands to show he means no harm. Then why are you, the number one hero in all of Japan, here? I'm not important at all, Jiro wondered. As you said before, you seem to be familiar with stands, correct? Yagi questioned. Yeah, I've had this ability since I was around 8 years old, but no one else ever saw it until I had to fight some water stand who could see mine, Jiro confessed, fearing she was going to be punished by the law. Oh yes, you did have that fight. I watched the security footage, and I was also the only one who could see your ability, young Jiro, as I have one too. Yagi then showed off his hermit purple, as purple veins covered his arm like a tree, which made Jiro gasp. You have a stand? Jiro said, shocked. Yes, young Jiro, you and I are a part of a small group of people in this world who possess a stand, and I in particular have been searching far and wide for stand user allies to join me in a crusade against an old evil. Now, Jiro, will you join us? Yagi offered. Jiro thought, fighting an old evil. She's just a teenager, but then again, she will finally be with people who can fully know her and make new friends in these stand users who are all around her age. Well, except All Might, of course. All right, I accept, Jiro accepted with a bit of excitement. The day after Jiro was accepted into the Stardust Crusaders, All Might insisted on it being their name. They all gathered at the Takoba Municipal Beach, where their training sessions usually started most of the time. This was the first time the entire group was together, and All Might was more excited than everyone. Midoriya and All Might were first to be at the beach, and then Ida and Aoyama arrived, followed shortly by Tokoimi. All right, is that everyone? Asked Midoriya, looking around to see the other three. I think so, Aoyama says. No, wait, we have a new member joining us for this training, All Might told everyone. They all turned to see Jiro appear, who just arrived at the beach. Hi everyone, the name's Kyoka Jiro. Jiro introduced herself. OM Izuku. Midoriya. Izuku introduced himself. If this was him a couple weeks ago, he would have exploded into a billion bits of pieces if he saw a girl talk to him, but the stand battles and training has definitely toughened him up a bit, even if it's just being less socially awkward. Tinya Ida. Yuga Aoyama. Fumikage Tokoimi. You know me as All Might, but I'm Tashinori Yagi. All Might reveals his identity. Every greeted Jiro with open arms as to welcome the new member of the Crusaders. Mr. Yagi, you said something about training, didn't you? Midoriya asked. Indeed, I have, young Midoriya. While you all have had your own way of training these past few weeks, I would like to take it in another direction other than just pure strength training, All Might said. Now everyone observe, Yagi said as everyone observed their mentor. The stand users were confused as All Might walked over a junk car with a can of soup lying on top of it. All Might climbed on the car, and yellow electricity radiated from his arm. Is that hermit purple? Ida wondered. No, there isn't any purple veins over his arm, Tokoimi tuned in. All Might then struck Taya. He hit the can, but instead of breaking it, it instead went through the can and into the car, causing a massive dent to appear in the car, while the can only falls over and onto the sand, which Midoriya picks up. There is no dent. Izuku extremely examines the can, but there wasn't any sign of Yagi damaging it. Ida picks up the can, examining it. Fascinating. I have never seen a quirk like this before, Ida says as he holds his glasses and cleans them to make sure he is looking at this right. Could it be his other stand? I mean, he's All Might, so I wouldn't leave it off the table. Jiro tunned, and also curious at what kind of power that was. I don't think so. His stand involves spirit photography, not going through stuff with his energy, Aoyama states. Wait, that is the same technique he used to destroy the All-for-One flesh buds. Midoriya thinks back. Ah yes, indeed, young Midoriya, what you saw there was Hammon. A technique that harnesses the power of the very sun, All Might explains to the group. Hammon, huh? I thought it was just a legend from Tibet about gaining eternal youth. Ida thought, going back to his readings on it some years back. Hammon is more useful than passing through objects. It can transfer energy, heal, stick objects, and much more. Now, young Crusaders, will you train for this? All Might asked his students. If it's what it takes to defeat All for One, yeah? Izuku says, determined. Me too, Aoyama joins in. Alright, Ida says. That actually sounds pretty cool. Jiro accepts. Alright then, I don't see is benefiting me very much, but I'll give it a try. Tokoyami accepts. Great. Now I have brought someone who will help train you, but warning, he is a tad bit strict, Yagi warned before everyone suddenly sensed a skinny man on the top of the garbage. The skinny man dramatically falls down from the trash and makes a perfect landing on the floor. Everyone, this is my former sidekick, Sir Nightai. All Might introduces him. Oh, hi there, sir. My name is Izuku Midoriya. Were you really All Might's sidekick? Like Sidus. Izuku rushed up to him, fanboying. Slow down there, Midoriya, Jiro said, witnessing Midoriya's weirdly impressive ability to mumble. Yeah, he's a huge All Might fanboy, Aoyama mentions. Yeah, it's almost charming that the strongest guy here besides All Might is such a nerd, Tokoyami mentions. I personally find Midoriya's inspiration for All Might to be extremely respectful. He takes notes off the past and uses it to look into the future, Ida says, overthinking Midoriya's admiration. Oh really? That guy's the strongest? Wow, Jiro said, also seeing Midoriya's charm. Nightai only stares until pulling a notebook. Heaven's door. Nightai suddenly shouts as Nightai's stands appears. Huh? Ah, what the? Izuku said in shock as suddenly his face was turned into pages and fell to the floor. What? The rest of the Crusaders said, shocked and in horror. Ida and Aoyama summoned Silver Chariot and Hierophant Green immediately. You reverse whatever you're doing to Midoriya right now, Ida demanded, pointing his sword directly to Nightai's neck. Hey, relax, young Aoyama and Ida. This is just Nightai's unique way of doing things with his stand. Heaven's door. All Might calm down his students. Izuku Midoriya, born on the July 15th, 2000. You were originally Diagon's quirkless. You never knew your father. You have won the largest collection of All Might merchandise on the planet, and you just manifested your stand just recently. Sir Nightai reads Midoriya's past. Is this seriously who you think is worthy of the mantle? What about Mirio? Sir Nightai says to All Might about the mantle. Hey Shu, All Might said, almost panicked. Clearly Nightai said something he wasn't supposed to. Sir Nightai then removes the effects of Heaven's Door from Izuku. Whoa, and back to normal. Midoriya feels his face, and it's back to normal. Alright, I can't say I'm impressed with your students, All Might, Nightai says. Nightai, you're being too harsh. They are only just began training, All Might defended his student. I guess you didn't read far into Midoriya's life, haven't you? Midoriya alone has already shown great acts of heroism and had saved the lives of young Ida and young Aoyama, All Might says. Now, young Midoriya, show Nightai the extent of your power by destroying those stack of broken-down cars. Toshi points Midoriya towards the broken-down cars. Oh, all right, Izuku says, getting up from the floor as the walks towards the cars. And no holding back or pulling your punches like last time, All Might mentioned. Ida then thinks, wait, was he really holding back in our battle? Perhaps not to hurt me. Izuku then starts to sprint towards the cars as he summons Star Platinum. Star Platinum. Izuku yells as his stand appears. Star Platinum yells, punching the cars into oblivion, sending the stack of cars across the beach in an even more broken and torn-up shape than they were before, with even junk flying into the ocean. Now, Sir Nightai, what do you think of Midoriya and his strength? All Might jabs Nightai. I suppose he exceeded my expectations. I guess they are worth training after all. Nightai says as his glasses got steamy, which left Yagi laughing and smirking at HS Sidekick's silly way of saying he was impressed. All right, Crusaders. Now begins your Hammond training. It will be a hard and difficult journey, but I just know teenagers' potential is boundless, All Might says in a motivating voice. Right. The 5 teens said at the same time, clearly motivated to learn this whole new ability. Come on, everyone, remember your training, said Yagi with a microphone, standing right on top of some stacked broken-down cars. The Crusaders have been practicing Hammond for a bit now, and Toshi has put them through a lot. All Might gave them a tough challenge. There was a rock not so far off the beach they were training on which gave Yagi an idea how to use it. Now that you have understood the very basics of Hammond, I have given you a challenge. All Might announces to his students and fellow Crusaders. Oh, what is it? Asked Midoriya, very interested. Yes, Mr. Yagi, please insight us in what you have for us to learn. Ida asked politely for what their next task will be. Oh, I can tell already this is going to be bad, Jiro said, expecting the worst of the challenge. Yagi draws their attention to the water as he slowly walks over to the water and seemingly places his foot into the water, but instead his foot was standing on the water. Hammond can give you the ability to walk on the water. I want you to use your Hammond to walk to that rock over there without your feet falling into the water, All Might instructed. Seriously? We just got a handle on the stuff, and we're supposed to do that? Jiro said, groaning. Jiro, you see, it's far simpler than you let on now. Let a renowned professional take a shot of this, Aoyama said, as he then harnessed his Hammond around his body to try and walk on the water, only to immediately to have his foot fall into the water, which surprised Aoyama enough to lose his balance and fall into the water. BFF, haha, Jiro couldn't hold in her laugh as Aoyama failed to do it on his first try at such a level. Izuku and Ida tried to hold in by holding their mouths, but they failed and bursted out laughing, even making Tokoyami lets out a chuckle. Aoyama got up, or we shall never speak of this again. Aoyama tries brushing it off. Ha, nope, I'm keeping that stored in the brain, haha, Jiro says, still laughing. I have a feeling this is going to be a long training session, Yagi thinks, judging by young Aoyama's literal first steps in the training. Just a little more, Ida said with strain as he was nearing the rock off the beach. But around the last couple of steps, he looks at his feet, it goes right into the water, causing his entire body to fall into the water. Meanwhile, Tokoyami and Jiro were lying on a rock, tired from all the training and falling into the ocean. So tired, said the exhausted Jiro. The drench of water is colder than any darkness, Tokoyami said, shivering until Tashinori gave him a blanket. There we go, young Tokoyami. Now have some more minutes of rest before you get back into training, Yagi said, trying to motivate his students, but he only made them groan louder. Back with Ida, his head popped out of the water, damn it. I nearly had it. Ida let out some of his hidden anger. He had to get stronger. Otherwise, he won't be strong enough to live up to his brother's legacy and take down the hero killer. Come on, Ida, don't be so down on yourself. Midoriya approached while standing over the water with his Hammond. He seems to be a quick learner, with him reaching a hand out to so Ida could stand back up on the water. Suddenly, Izuku could see something coming out of the water. Midoriya? What's wrong, Ida thought, until Izuku summoned Star Platinum, so he can quickly throw Ida away from the danger and near the shore. Huh. Hermit Purple. Yagi yelled as he suddenly jumped into action and used Hermit Purple to grab onto Ida, so he would have a safe landing. Right as Star Platinum threw Ida, a reptile-like stand jumped out of the water who was attempting to attack Midoriya. What a stand user? Yagi saw from the distance. Aura. Star Platinum tried punching the reptile stand only to jump back into the water where it started to circle around Izuku. Midoriya is being eked, Aoyama says, seeing from the shore. We need to get Midoriya out of the water, Tokoyami said, jumping straight off the water. I got just the thing, echoes Act 2. Jiro says as she summons her stand and then fires a sound effect into the water. Boingy bong. The sound effect said as it was placed on a certain bit of water. Midoriya, jump on that. Jiro yelled from the shore, which Midoriya noticed, and jumped on the sound effect, allowing him to jump on the water like a trampoline as it sends him back to the beach. Well, thanks, Jiro, you're a lifesaver, Midoriya says, thanking Jiro, who smiles back. No problem, Jiro lightly smirked back before they both stared at the ongoing danger from afar. Midoriya, was that a stand just now? Ida asked, budging into the conversation. I don't know, it was some kind of fish stand who tried killing me and Ida. Perhaps it's all for one trying to take us down while we are training, Midoriya theorizes. They'll have to agree with young Midoriya on this, Yagi says. Suddenly the reptile stand came out of the water alongside its stand user, revealing it to be a middle-aged sailor man with blonde hair and a tan. Well, hello there, you ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Old Salt, and as you have probably guessed already, I was sent by All for One himself to depose of all of you, Old Salt said. I think All for One said to target the boy with green hair, so we'll start with the green-haired boy over there first. Old Salt pointed at Izuku. First, which Izuku accepted immediately by walking up slowly. Alrighty then. If I'm your target, then come right at me, Izuku says, walking forward and pointing his thumb at himself. That's Vegeta's technique. Dark Blue Moon. Old Salt says as he attempts to attack Izuku, only for him to summon Star Platinum to block the attack, and with his other hand Star Platinum grabs Dark Blue Moon by the hand and throws the reptile stand on the sand, causing Old Salt to cough out some vital fluid. But when he got the opportunity, Dark Blue Moon used their own scales as projectiles to push off Star Platinum, which succeeded. He can use his scales like my Emerald Splash, Aoyama commented on the battle. As a sign of weakness, Dark Blue Moon crawls to the ocean, which Star Platinum uses to attack the stand. But with the stand's quick reflex, it dodges the attack and grabs onto Star Platinum's arm and dives into the war, also dragging Izuku and his stand-in. Midoriya. Every one of the creators in worry as Midoriya gets thrown and dragged into the water. Hermit Purple. Yagi yelled as he fires his whips in Izuku's direction, hoping he would be able to grab on, but Izuku missed and was fully dragged in. Suddenly a whirlpool formed where they were fighting, no doubt a result of Old Salt's stand. Now I have the advantage in this battle. You might have been beating me on the land, but you won't be beating me on my home turf, Old Salt says smirkingly. I ain't admitting defeat this early into the fight, Izuku says as he charges in at Dark Blue Moon with Star Platinum, but their battle is a lot more equal. But it missed their fight. Star Platinum, and by extension Izuku, was suddenly covered in acorn barnacles, which allowed for Dark Blue Moon to gain an advantage in attacking Star Platinum, and Izuku landing some good hits in. Izuku said in pain, also inhaling water in the process. What's wrong, boy? You can't hold your breath for long, can't you? Me, on the other hand, can hold my breath for much longer. Now what will kill you first, Dark Blue Moon or drowning? Let's find out, Old Salt says as he lets out a laugh. Meanwhile, everyone stared at the fight from the beach. We gotta help Midoriya, Aoyama tells the group as he summons Hierophant Green, and he extended the stand so his lower half would be detached and become a long tail. Midoriya, are you there? Grab on. Aoyama yells out to the sea, which Midoriya notices and tries to grab on. But when Aoyama's stand touches the ocean, the scales off Dark Blue Moon appear and strike his hands, causing vital fluid to splue out of Aoyama's hand as if he touched a chainsaw. Gah. He's planned that we might have gotten involved, Aoyama says as he looks at his bloody hand with Ida rushing down to help his friend's injury. Don't worry, Aoyama. We'll deal with him myself, Izuku says to Aoyama, just barely from below. And what do you think you're going to do at an overwhelming bad disadvantage, huh? Ha 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 ha, Old Salt laughs. Izuku then pushes deeper under the water to the surprise of the sailor. How is he purposefully trying to get himself killed? Old Salt wondered as he followed Izuku down into the water. Aura. Star Platinum lifted a rock at the bottom of the sea, which had bubbles hidden underneath, filling Midoriya's lungs with oxygen, and he harnesses that into his Hammond. What's this? Old Salt says as Hammond energy radiated over Midoriya. Izuku yelled as suddenly the barnacles exploded off of him. Impossible, Old Salt yelled again in shock. Take this. Star Overdrive. Izuku yelled as he raised his fist and charged at Old Salt. Dark Blue Moon. Old Salt tried protecting himself with his stand, but Midoriya quickly countered by Star Platinum being summoned. Ora, Star Platinum punched through with such force it cut off Dark Blue's hand, and by extension Old Salt's hand as well. Izuku's Star Overdrive connected with Old Salt, hitting him in the gut. GHH. Old Salt yelled out in pain as he drifted into the dark ocean. You'll wash up on shore eventually. Farewell, Midoriya said before swimming back to shore. Old Salt, retired. Midoriya. Everyone yelled as he got out the ocean. Midoriya coughed out some water. Yeah, I'm alright, I just may have swallowed a fish, Izuku assured his friends, extremely battered from the battle. You nearly gave us all a heart attack there, Aoyama mentions, holding his injured hand, which was wrapped in bandages as they talked. Yes, if it wasn't for you I would have been dead, so thank you, Midoriya. Ida thanked his peer. No problem, but I gotta give Jiro the credit where it's needed. She made sure I got back to shore at the start of the battle. Oh, come on, I didn't do that much, Jiro said, slightly embarrassed from the compliment. So Midoriya, did that man have a parasite on him like Ida or Aoyama? Asked Tokoyami. From what I saw, no, Midoriya replied. Well, some people don't need the parasite to swear loyalty to All For One. While it may sound bad, some people are just naturally drawn to his evil presence, Yagi mentions. Yes, unfortunately, that seemed to be the case, Yuga says, thinking back to his time as a minion, the League of Villains. But I think we should call off training for today. I think you've all really proven yourselves today, Yagi says to the group. Tokoyami and Jiro looked the most relieved. Yippee! Meanwhile, in their heads, tiny chibi versions of Jiro and Tokoyami jumped and cheered in celebration as they don't need to any more Hammond training and continuously get soaked for another hour straight. It has been some months since Izuku had first awakened Star Platinum, and everything has been going well. Izuku Midoriya was coming home from school, and he has been making quite a name for himself at his school. Of course, everyone at his school still remembers the incident with the bullies, which cost the bullies a couple of broken bones, which summoned Midoriya in the cool books, much to bullies like his old friend Bakugo's dismay, which caused him to get more popular with the girls especially. Speaking of Bakugo, ever since the incident they had never really talked. He no longer picked on him, or even spoke to him. Something was definitely off with him, which made Deku confront his old friend after class. Bakugo was walking the hallway with his eyes down to the floor before he looked up to see Midoriya in his way. Kaken, Midoriya said with a care in his voice. Deku Bakugo on the Minwi had venom in his voice as he said that nickname. It's been a while, Kaken, and I was wondering why. Midoriya asked. Why? Why? Well, you should know it already, Deku. You hid your quirk from me. Bakugo suddenly yelled, which caught Midoriya by surprise. Hide my quirk? Why would I hide my quirk and get beaten on all my life for being quirkless? Izuku asked, questioning his former best friend's logic. To belittle me, that's why? You built me up for these years just to bring me down before UA starts you with your ghost quirk, or whatever. Bakugo yelled again, but Midoriya was clearly getting agitated. Midoriya let out a deep breath. Do you honestly think the world revolves around you, and I gave up a better life full of friends and happiness just for me to show you how superior I am to you? My God, Midoriya facebanned at Bakugo's stupidity. Why you? Bakugo yelled as his hands started to fire up his quirk and nearly launch his hand at Midoriya. He wasn't trying to hurt him, but try and put him in his place. But suddenly, as he moved his hand upwards, he felt his arm be stopped by some invisible force grabbing him by the hand. Huh? Bakugo says in surprise. Midoriya sighs him, sorry, Ida. It's guess I just couldn't make up with him. Midoriya talks to himself. Ida was mostly the one trying to push Midoriya into reconciling with his former best friend, but it seems like Bakugo is still in his own bubble. A day prior, when the Crusaders were chilling around town after a long day of training. They were at a cafe where the topic of their past came up after Midoriya and Aoyama talked about their time being quirkless, with Midoriya's experience being more worrying for his friends. What, that blonde little twerp tormented you for 10 years without any punishment? Let me at him. Jiro says, the angrily pulling up the sleeves of her jacket as she summoned Echo's Act 2. No, I don't think that's the way to solve it, says Midoriya, trying to calm Jiro. I agree with Midoriya. He needs to solve this through words and not hands. Although you could do that very easily, actually, Ida proclaims. At least he's honest, Tokoyami comments. Jiro sat back, down. Fine, Jiro said, laying her arms together like a grumpy child. Yes, from what I've seen from Bakugo myself, he is definitely not going to be easy to talk to, Aoyama mentions. Yeah, Midoriya replies. Yes, maybe you should talk to him after class. You won't lose anything from trying, Ida says, patting Midoriya's back. Midoriya stared blankly for a second before responding, all right, I'll give it a shot. The force stopping Bakugo's hand suddenly stopped, and the blonde could only look shocked as Midoriya. I don't want to antagonize you, Bakugo. I really do want to be friends. Can you just think of this, all right? Midoriya asked his friend before leaving. That could have went better, but Midoriya already knew Bakugo wouldn't shift personality overnight anyways. Midoriya left the school. Hey, wait up. Aoyama suddenly appeared. Oh, sorry, Aoyama. He must have got ahead of myself, Midoriya chuckles. So how did that conversation go, Aoyama said, trying not to be awkward. Well, I tried, that's all I can say, Midoriya said, sighing. I see. Well, at least you brought him down a peg or two, Aoyama said. I guess, Midoriya said, still thinking about it. Midoriya has evolved from a once scared and fragile boy to a more confident young man. Heck, he even grew a few meters too. When they reached their home, they noticed something was off. The oven, which would usually be on at this time, due to Inko prepping dinner, was silent. "Mom," Midoriya said. "Mrs. Midoriya?" Aoyama asked. Then they noticed none other than All Might in their rooming talking with Inko. "Mr. Tashinori?" They both yelled in unison. Inko noticed them. "Oh boys, Mr. Tashinori here came to my house this afternoon to talk about something you might like with the rest of the Crusader friends," Yagi said. "Crusaders? That's what they call you?" Inko chuckles. "Wait, Mom, you know?" Midoriya said, shocked, knowing that if she heard about anything with his battles against Silver Chariot and Dark Blue Moon, she would flood the entire city with her tears. "Yeah, I know. I was a bit suspicious from when you stay out for longer and longer nights, but I saw the happiness in your eyes every time you went out, so I tried ignoring it. But now I know what you are going through. It saddens me. But knowing the friends you've made, I couldn't be mad," Inko replied, wiping a tear from her eye. "Indeed, young Midoriya and Aoyama. I think this will be for your liking," Yagi said as he showed the two of them a piece of paper. He then pulls out an All Might-themed phone showing a house. "Wait, Mr. Tashinori, you aren't saying," Midoriya saying, thinking he knows what Yagi is thinking. "Correct, young Midoriya. I'm planning to put you and your friends in your very own dormitory," Yagi says with enthusiasm. "Wait, dormitory? Like college?" asked Midoriya, shocked. Tashinori chuckles. "Yes, very much like it. But instead of being located at a school or college, it's sort of more like a house, and it's also not so far from UA." Yagi explained. "So boys, do you accept?" "I've already been to everyone else's," All Might asked. "Well, if everyone else is joining together, it would be very unpolite to leave the rest hanging. Whatcha say, Midoriya?" Aoyama leaned his arm over Midoriya's shoulder. "Yeah, I'm in too," Midoriya replied back after thinking for a second. "Then it's official," Yagi says with enthusiasm. "I'm so proud of both of you." Inko pulled Izuku and Yuga into a tight hug. "It's just a couple of teenagers living together. What's the worst that could happen?" It took some days to sort out on both Yagi's side and the rest of the Crusaders packing their stuff. But the day had come for them to move into the dormitory. It wasn't big, but it wasn't small either, but big enough for 5 teenagers to comfortably live in. "So this is it, huh? Seems pretty nice," Jiro comments with her carrying a large guitar bag over her shoulder. "I can't wait to unpack and put my glorious room on display for everyone, which will surely blow everyone else's out of the waters," Aoyama proclaimed. "Oh really?" Tokoyami said almost chucklingly. "Fine, let's turn this into a game. The best room gets the remote for the TV for an entire week and bragging rights," Jiro says to the group. Sure sounds like a deal," Aoyama said. "Alright, I'll play along," Tokoyami smirked. "Yeah, sounds good," Midoriya said with no too much confidence. He had a feeling he wasn't winning this. "Indeed, I think it's most efficient we get to designing our rooms right away," Ida said, carrying a comedically large amount of boxes at the same time. I guess he makes a point. Izuku can't help but smile at Ida's unintentional comedy. The Crusaders spent an hour or so moving into their new living space, adding their own unique look for their bedrooms. Tokoyami's room was dark and gloomy as expected. Everyone looked in his room. "Wow, it suits you pretty well," Tokoyami Jiro comments. "Yeah, it reflects you very well," Midoriya comments. "I agree with Midoriya, but I would highly suggest more light in your room. There are tons of tripping hazards everywhere," Ida points out. Maybe," Tokoyami says. Next was Jiro, which was full of different musical instruments, band posters from the United States, and much more music-related stuff. "Wow, Jiro. I know you're into music, but I didn't know you can play," Midoriya said with excitement. "Hey, it's nothing. My family is basically surrounded by music, but I'm not very good at it," Jiro says with a blush. "Don't doubt yourself, Jiro. You must have a passion and interest if you decided to bring your instruments here," Ida assures her. "Hey, maybe we can listen to your music with my impeccable singing voice," Aoyama boasts. Hey, I don't think you should get ahead of yourself, Aoyama. I've heard you in the shower singing, and I assure everyone that you don't want to hear it," Izuku jokes. "Oh, how funny, Midoriya. I don't see your amazing singing voice anywhere," Aoyama replied back sarcastically. They all let out a laugh. "At least I didn't get picked to sing," Tokoyami thought to himself. Next up was Aoyama's room, which was full of mirrors, as if it was palace of a king. "You know, I knew it would be something like this, but I'm still surprised," commented Jiro in shock of Aoyama's pride in himself. "Aoyama, may I ask the necessities of owning all these mirrors?" Ida asked. "Well, Ida, you can't look as perfect as me without taking extreme care of yourself," Aoyama replies as he looked into his mirrors while doing his hair with a hairbrush. It's quite the opposite of my room, Tokoyami comments. Thank All Might he didn't do this to my room at home, which is a reason I made him stay in my closet, Midoriya thinks. Next up was Ida's room, which was pretty simple, but very neatly composed bedroom compared to the others. His bed was colored in a stripped white and blue pattern with the photo of his older brother on a desk near to his bed. Pretty simple compared to everyone else, Midoriya says. Yes, as a model student, I must not live a ravish lifestyle, Ida declares. Huh, that's pretty sweet of you, Ida, Jiro comments. Yes, I too appreciate your dedication to your way of doing things, Tokoyami says. I too, but I think your room could add a bit more style, way too basic for my taste, Aoyama comments. Finally, the last room was Midoriya's room, which had an All Might shrine in front of his bed alongside his own personal little gym with some weights on a mat. Sorry if it looks a bit weird, Izuku apologies to his teammates. Not at all. It's really great how much dedication you have in becoming a hero, Midoriya. Ito approves. Yeah, it's pretty clear throughout all of our rooms that we have our own little gimmicks that makes us stand apart. Jiro reflects on each other's rooms. That's just what makes us us, Tokoyami tunes in. Thanks guys, Midoriya smiles back at his new friends, nearly tearing up at what is happening. He is just chilling with his 4 best friends in the whole world. He wished the old him could see him now. So who exactly won? Tokoyami asked the group. Well, we shall decide on vote, but no voting for ourselves. Ida said, laying out the rules. Since unfortunately I can't pick myself, I shall vote for Midoriya. It's a very flashy room which I can appreciate, as your roommate Aoyama said. Midoriya 1. Aoyama 0. Jiro 0. Ida 0. Tokoyami 0. Well, as a fellow music enjoyer, I can appreciate the posters Jiro has on her wall. Tokoyami puts his vote out. Midoriya 1. Aoyama 0. Jiro 1. Ida 0. Tokoyami 0. They'll put my vote out for Midoriya. I admire his admiration for All Might, and also the way he perfectly places his All Might merch in accordance to its size or importance is near perfect, Ida says. Wow, I never noticed I did that, Midoriya thought. Midoriya 2. Aoyama 0. Jiro 1. Ida 0. Tokoyami 0. Ill pick Tokoyami. I guess I just dig the vibe of his place a lot, Jiro said, returning the vote Tokoyami had for her. Midoriya 2. Aoyama 0. Jiro 1. Ida 0. Tokoyami 1. Ill pick Jiro. I really like her way of expressing her hobbies. Midoriya says, smiling. Midoriya 2. Aoyama 0. Jiro 2. Ida 0. Tokoyami 1. So it's down to a draw, Ida says, wondering how to solve it. Aoyama, in the meanwhile, collapses to the floor in utter defeat. Not a single vote, cried the Frenchman. There is only one real way to solve this, Tokoyami said. If you say punchies, I swear to God this game is rigged, Jiro mentions. No, of course not. I meant like rock, paper, scissors. Tokoyami further explained. Alright, Jiro nods, and Midoriya nods back. Poor predictable Midoriya. Always chooses rock, Kyoka thought. Good ol' rock, nothing beats that. Thought Izuku. They suddenly moved their hands forward. Rock. Midoriya proclaimed. Paper, Jiro said after. Do. Midoriya said in defeat. Woo, looks like I won. Jiro yelled in victory, running up to the living area, grabbing the remote, and jumping on the sofa. Come round. We'll show you guys real taste, Jiro said as she scrolled down the TV channels to the music channel. Everyone couldn't help but chuckle at Jiro's excitement and walk towards the sofa to join Jiro's antics. As the night faded, another day arose for the Stardust teens. Jiro awakes as the sun shines into her room and hears a familiar tune of Mustafa radio from the kitchen. Jiro put on her school uniform and walked into the kitchen to see Ida making food, while the radio plays, humming the tune of the Mustafa radio. Oh, good morning, Jiro, Ida said with energy in his voice. Morning, Ida said, Jiro, still half asleep, rubbing her eyes, not sharing Ida's positive attitude, at least not in this time of the morning. Ida was wearing his school uniform, although with a pink apron on. You are making food? Jiro asked, almost giggling at his pink apron. Indeed, Jiro. For the entire household, too. Huh, really? Jiro asked, surprised. Yeah, I've nearly got everything ready, Ida replies. Really? Thanks, man, you're the best, Jiro said, and replied to Ida in a thankful tone as she walks past him. Sometime later, everyone is dressed for their separate schools, eating the delicious meal Ida had made for them up. Man, Ida crunch, you make some good breakfast. Izuku said, stuffed with food in his mouth. Thank you, Midoriya. I wanted to make a good first impression for our first full day living together, Ida says politely. And can you please chew your food before speaking, Midoriya? Ida says, reminding Midoriya of table manners. Tokoyami walked to the fridge and started looking concerned. I don't want to alarm anyone, but the fridge is almost empty, Tokoyami mentioned, which surprised the others. What? We just got here, how the hell can it be empty? Jiro asked, confused. Saker Blue. You would think All Might would have gave us a fridge with little more food in. Aoyama says in his obnoxiously French tone. I might also be to blame for this. I was so focused on presenting the best welcoming gift, I totally forgot about how much I was actually using. Ida fell to his knees in defeat. Yo dude. It's fine, no need to treat it like the end of the world. But then again, someone will have to do some groceries after school, Jiro says. Yes, as the person to be blamed for the fridge, I will gladly do the shopping to redeem myself, although I may not be able to handle all the shopping myself, Ida says. Suddenly the room became silent as everyone stared at each other like it was a five-way Mexican standoff. 123, not it. Jiro started and reacted first. Not it. Midoriya proclaimed. Not it. Aoyama joined the fray. Not I, god damn it. Tokoyami curses as he now has to do the shopping. You snooze, you lose, Tokoyami. Jiro chuckles. I'm surprised Midoriya acted before I did, honestly, Aoyama mentions. Midoriya chuckles. I'm honestly surprised myself. But hanging around you and Jiro does that to me. I guess he's smiling and rubbing the back of his head. Dark Shadow then appears from Tokoyami. Don't worry, it'll help you. Dark Shadow says to Tokoyami. But I can't show you in public, Dark Shadow. That's against the law, Tokoyami mentions to his quirk. Dark Shadow gasped. So you're going to use that firebird again, aren't you? Dark Shadow says. Dark Shadow has never gotten along with Magician's Red since his stand contracts his quirk heavily. Hey, Tokoyami said in annoyance. Izuku then finishes his meal and looks at the time. Well, I guess I should be going, Midoriya says, grabbing on his bag. Aoyama noticed Midoriya leaving and quickly eat up all his food in one go. I'm coming, yelled Aoyama with his mouth full, almost making him choke on his food. Ida took off his apron and grabbed his backpack. See you after school, Tokoyami. Well, we ought to be going to, Ida said. Yeah, I guess, Tokoyami replied back. You guys go ahead. My classes start a little later today, Jiro said to the others while on her phone. Some hours later, Tokoyami was walking out of school until he saw Ida outside. Oh great, Tokoyami sighs. Hello, Tokoyami. Are you ready to go shopping? Ida asked. I guess we might as well get it over with, Tokoyami replies. Indeed, there is a shop not so far from here, Ida says. The two made their way to the shops and reached the entrance. Alright, so what do we need again? Tokoyami asked Ida. Oh, great question, Tokoyami. I made a list, Ida then pulled out a notebook with Tokoyami, peeking over to see what's in the notebook. It was an entire 2 pages worth of food they need. The two stare in silence. Yeah, you're definitely buying. This ain't going through my allowance, Tokoyami said. That's very reasonable, Ida, putting his glasses up as they suddenly became steamy. After 10 minutes or so of going through aisles with shopping bags in their hands, until suddenly it started to get more colder. Gur, I don't remember aisles being this cold, said the shivering Ida. Well, we are in the freezer aisle. Of course it's going to be cold, Tokoyami replied. Yes, but you have fur, GRZZ, said the continually freezing Ida. Tokoyami also started to feel cold. Now that you mention it, something feels off, Tokoyami mentions. They walked out of the freezer aisle, and once they turned to the next aisle. A man frozen. What the? The two teens yelled in horror at the man in ice. He's frozen, Ida said in awe. I don't even think he's frozen, he might be dead, Tokoyami said in shock. Ida looked around to see everything was now quiet. He turned the next corner, and he saw more people frozen across multiple aisles. This must be the work of a villain, or worse, an enemy, stand user. Ida said in worry. Suddenly the two could hear clapping. Brava, Ida, that would be correct. Suddenly a man with long blue hair, white cold skin, and a skin-tight white clothing who also speaked in an Italian accent. Who are you? Tokoyami asked. Who am I? Well, you should probably know the gist by now. I work under All for One, and am here to eliminate you, but you can call me Fresco. Fresco revealed his name. I don't care, but I'm taking you down. Ida pointed as he summoned Silver Chariot. A Silver Chariot. What a magnificent-looking stand. It even decided the form of my own stand. Fresco laughed as he summoned his stand, but instead of it being a spirit like the majority of stand users, it was instead a piece of white armor. You'll pay for all the deaths you caused, Ida said, charging in at Fresco. Ora, ora, ora. Ida yelled the stand cry as he hit Fresco with multiple attacks by Silver Chariot, but it had no effect? What? Ida said in shock as he looked at the tip of his blade, which was now ice. Surprised? Well, my stand White Album's ability is to freeze things to insane temperatures, Fresco bragged as he walked towards Ida, making the young crusader step back in fear, but Fresco grabbed the sword of Silver Chariot and started freezing it over until the cold reached the stand's arm and Ida's arm by effect. Ida cringed in pain as he fell to the ground, unable to take the coldness as Fresco walked up to him. Oh, poor Ida. If you actually stood with all for one, you wouldn't be dead. You could have gotten your revenge against Stain and so much more, but no more about ifs die. Fresco prepared the killing blow by raising his hand for a karate chop on Ida's neck, but before he could enact the final blow, Crossfire Hurricane. Suddenly Tokoyami entered the fray, causing both Ida and Fresco to jump away. Tokoyami approached Ida and warmed him up with his stand. Thanks Tokoyami. Ida thanks his friends. No problem, I'll take the fight from here, Tokoyami says, dropping the groceries to the floor as he approaches Fresco. This is what Eve been waiting for. Fire versus ice, a rivalry only surpassed by Yin versus Yang. Now let's see if your magician's red is hotter or my White Album is colder. Fresco says with excitement. You're one weird guy, you know that? Said Tokoyami, weirded out before locking into the fight. Crossfire Hurricane. Tokoyami fired his attack once again, with Fresco being surprised by the attack's speed as he guards the attack, and after the attack is vanquished, Fresco charges in at Tokoyami while dragging his hand through the floor, causing the area to slowly dropping in temperature, catching Tokoyami by surprise enough for Fresco to get a grab of his face, slowly turning it to ice. Gad, Dark Shadow. Tokoyami suddenly yelled as the dark bird quirk appeared and jumped out at Fresco with a slash, sending Fresco back with its attack. What the? He has a second stand. No, that can't be right. He truly is an anomaly, Fresco said, confused at Tokoyami. Thanks, Dark Shadow. Tokoyami thanked it as it vanished into him, as he summoned Magician's Red again to help heat his face up from it dropping in temperature. Fresco was right about one thing. Tokoyami is an anomaly in the stand world, with him possessing not just a stand but a sentient quirk, which basically serves as a stand, with the only difference is advisable to non-stand users. The stand and Keurig also completely contrast each other, with him only being able to use one ability at a time due to Dark Shadow being weak to light, like the fires emitted by Magician's Red, which caused Dark Shadow to have an almost one-sided rivalry with the stand. This is also what got All Might's attention some time ago, which led to Tokoyami becoming one of the first Crusaders to be recruited. Tokoyami, are you good? Ida came to his assistance, trying to help Tokoyami up. Yeah, but this guy's armor is nearly invincible. He was able to tank a Crossfire Hurricane like it was nothing, Tokoyami said. That doesn't seem to be the case, Tokoyami. Look at the place you hit him. Ida pointed at Fresco's armor. When they could see something, it was a small piece of the armor has broken off. Great, it looks like him doing something, but I'm not sure if Fresco will give us the chance to keep on firing on that spot, and will reinforce it with his ice or something, Tokoyami replied. I've got an idea, trust me, Ida assured his friend before they started whispering. Fresco looked interested in what they had planned. He checked over himself to see the dent on OIC. Fresco chuckled. The two teens stopping speaking before looking at Fresco with a grin. Magician's Red. Silver Chariot. The two summoned their stands and charged forward towards Fresco before at the last second Ida stops attacking and vanishes, but Fresco isn't given enough time to realize that as Tokoyami fires another attack. Crossfire Hurricane. Tokoyami fires another attack at the spot he already fired at. Haha, nice try, but I already knew you were gonna attack my weak spot, so I made some adjustments. Fresco laughs as it's revealed that he placed extra ice onto that weak spot, which subdued the fire attack, which still hurt a bunch. Didn't get him wrong, but it prevented further damage to his armor. Then Fresco, using the established icy ground from earlier, ran on it like some roller skates, which completely caught Tokoyami by surprise. He desummoned Magician's Red Dark Shadow. He yelled as a dark mist suddenly stopped Fresco in his tracks, but it didn't stop him from trying to freeze Dark Shadow, who started to feel the coldness themselves before managing to push him off and send him backwards. What now? Your ultimate plan failed, and you're all out of options, Fresco laughed. Who said that was my ultimate plan? Tokoyami chuckled as Fresco suddenly felt a menacing presence behind him. He turned his head around to see Ida with Silver Chariot. But Fresco noticed the blade. It was like hot iron. No, Ida must have gotten Tokoyami to ignite his blade with hot iron, and he's going for his neck? Take this, Ora. Ida yelled as his jet parts suddenly started, which made him move faster than Fresco could react. Ida swinged his blade forward, and before Fresco knew it, Ida was right in front of him, looking away as Fresco's head fell off, resulting in the stand vanishing and the freezing villain's body to fall off the ground. "Ah, how did you beat me?" Fresco said as a talking head. "Simple. I noticed that your neck was a weak point in your armor, but I still wouldn't have had the power needed to penetrate your armor," Ida explained before Tokomi Kaniyunt. "So we came up with a plan. I would ignite Silver Chariot's blade in my magician's red, as the blade would serve as a sharp, concentrated force which could slice through your neck like butter," Tokomi said, looking down at the head. "Gor darn it all." Imim the head yelled before Tokomi shut it up by putting his foot over Fresco's mouth. "I've had enough of your voice. It seems like you can survive as just a head," so Tokomi then kicked Fresco towards the refrigerator, as Ida opened the refrigerator door, causing him behind it. Fresco, wielder of White Album, retired. "Well, thank God that's over," Tokomi sighed as he fell to the floor exhausted. "Indeed, we should get a move on before the police and pro-heroes arrive," Ida says as he walks over and grabs the shopping materials. "I guess so. Hey, do we have to pay for those still? I'm pretty sure no one is here now anyway," asked Tokomi. "Tokomi, we aren't villains," Ida said in anger at the idea. "We literally just cut a guy's head off, and you care more about paying for our shopping?" Tokomi couldn't help but chuckle at the strange standard. "Tushi," Ida replies. Ida and Tokomi entered the room as Jiro, Midoriya, and Aoyama look at them. "About time. Where have you guys been?" "We're starving," Jiro says, slyly annoyed as they were an hour late. "There were some complications," Ida said, thinking of his choice of words. "So an enemy stand user, I presume?" Jiro replied back bluntly. "Yes," Tokoyami and Ida said at the same time as the other three couldn't help but let out a small chuckle. This was becoming way too normal for them to speak about it like this. Some days have passed since Ida and Tokoyami's little incident at the store, and things have mostly returned to normal, or what they would consider normal, with the countless enemy stand users all for one keeps sending to take the Crusaders out. In a shopping mall, Izuka, Midoriya, and Kyokujiro were currently walking with shopping bags in their hands. "Thanks for tagging along, Midoriya. Really appreciate you helping me buy all this music stuff," and all Jiro thanks, which makes Midoriya smile. "No problem, Jiro. I wouldn't leave a friend hanging after all," Midoriya replied happily as the two teen stand users enter a music store. Izuku and Jiro had a walk around the store, finding the right equipment while picking up stuff they found interesting along the way. Once they finished, they had walked up to the cash register where they were scanning their items and awaiting for the money they need to pay. Jiro pulled out a purse in advance, but suddenly, snatch! Suddenly a strange yellow little robot jumped up and grabbed her purse. "Huh?" both Jiro and Midoriya say in shock. "Miss, were you just robbed via psychokinesis quirk?" said the lady over the cash register. "Gur, hold on to these, will ya?" "Midoriya, come on," Jiro growled as she told the green-haired stand user to come with her. "Oh yeah." Midoriya joined in the chase as the both of them ran out of the shop and into the mall, where they darted their eyes around the busy mall. Midoriya summoned Star Platinum, using its supervision to search the area until catching something. "There, through that door." He points towards a door where they spot the small yellow creature squeezing between the gap in the door, which seemed to be an employees only. The two stand users rush towards the door, but it's seemed to only open for employees with key cards. "Punch through the door," Jiro yells. "But Jiro, that's against the law. I can't just punch through it," Midoriya said, cautious. Sure, he could use his stand to knock down the door. Heck, he could probably do it even without his stand, but he still was an aspiring hero. "Who cares? Just use your stand to punch through it, and Mr. Yagi can deal with the legal later," Jiro yelled. "Yes, ma'am." Izuku stutters at Jiro's sudden rise of anger, which is to be expected when your purse gets robbed by a small yellow robot-looking dude. Aura. Star Platinum appeared to punch down the door and ran to the staircase to look down to see the small yellow creature at the bottom of the many flights of stairs. "Ah!" The yellow creature screams, knowing it was being chased, and ran away. "Hey, come back here," Jiro yelled as she jumped down the flight of stairs as she summoned her stand. Echoes Act 2. Jiro yelled, summoning her stand, who fired the words boingy bong at the ground, which made the ground she was about to make impact with be squishy like a trampoline, allowing her to make a perfect landing and not be far behind the yellow creature. Oh no, Midoriya said, surprised by her quick thinking before jumping down himself, but instead dragging Star Platinum's fist through the concrete before landing on the floor and following shortly behind Jiro. They chased the small creature until eventually see it enter a closet. Izuku and Kyoka smirk at each other as Jiro kicks open the door as they can see a short purple-haired kid. "Ah, don't kill me," screamed the purple-haired kid as the two other teenage stand users look in confusion. "Wait a minute, you're just a kid?" Jiro said, bewildered at the reveal. "You weren't sent by some mysterious dark villain to kill us, right?" Midoriya asked the scared boy. "Huh? What the hell are you talking about?" "I'm just here to steal stuff," the teenage boy explained. "So who the hell are you anyway?" Midoriya asked. "Immer Minoru Mineta. I'm 15, and for the past couple of months I've been sorta using my new powers to totally steal from people," Mineta confesses. "How did you get this new power of yours?" Jiro interrogated the boy. "Well, some weird guy in a trench coat approached me like a couple of months ago and cut me with some weird metal thing, so in response I threw my ball at him and ran away. Then suddenly, I had these weird new powers," Mineta explained. "Wait, you hit him with your?" Midoriya wanted to ask, but at that point he was afraid to say it. No, that's my quirk." Throwing sticky purple ball, Mineta mentioned, which made Midoriya have a sigh of relief, while leaving Jiro a tad confused at what he meant. "So the best course of action you had after gaining a stand was run around stealing money from people?" asked Jiro. Yeah, and other stuff," Mineta said awkwardly. "You know, you could earn money is more or less a legal way, say like entering the lottery or finding money on the floor," Jiro asked, which made Mineta have an idea. "That's genius. That's it, I'll use my stand to gather up all the money and lottery tickets," Mineta said after having an epiphany. "All right, yeah, now we're talking," Jiro said, getting pumped up. Jiro, I'm not quite sure if that's legal," Midoriya replies. "Oh, come on, Midoriya. Imagine all the rare limited edition All Might merch you could buy." "Imagine," Jiro gestures Midoriya. All right, but only a little." Midoriya gives into temptation, which makes Jiro and Mineta grin. "All right, hatchets. Spread out and get us some cash," Mineta declares as many hatchets run out of the room. They are in all running out saying different things. Hee. "Let's go? Find the money." Hee ha ha. Sometime later, the three of them are sitting on a park bench looking bored as hell. Jiro yawns, looking at the time on her phone. "It's been an hour already. Are you sure they'll be back?" she asked. "I mean, Mustafu is a big city after all, especially for a stand that size," Midoriya comments. The purple-haired girl sighs, "I suppose so." Until suddenly a rumbling sound alerted the three, and Mineta looked in excitement and gasped. "Here they are!" Mineta yells as a horde of small harvest came to them with their hands full of money and lottery tickets. "Gotcha! Found it! Here you go." The harvest then throw all the tickets and money into the air, causing the three of them to be caught in a tsunami of tickets and money. "We're rich. Beyond our wildest dreams," Mineta declares, bathing in the tickets and money. Midoriya, on the meanwhile, starts counting up the money and cents. "So we're green. How much is the money?" asked Jiro. "I think it's around 300,000 yen. $2,000, Izuku declares. "Whoa, that's like a lot." Jiro says, shocked eye widened. Then they turned to Mineta, who was making strange noises as he was scrapping through multiple lottery tickets, trying to a winning ticket. Until suddenly, Mineta suddenly yells, shocking the green and purple teens. "Stop yelling. Sensitive ears, you know." Jiro yells, holding her ears. "What is it, Mineta?" asked Midoriya. "The numbers. I won." Mineta declares, to the shock of the other two, who look jaw-dropped as the grape-haired boy starts running in circles at his victory. "What? There is no way." Midoriya stuttered at the thought. "Don't let this be a prank, Grapehead, or I'll use echoes to torment your dreams." Jiro threats. "No. The numbers are all there. I won. 7.5 million yen. Mineta stutters excitedly. "For real?" Jiro and Midoriya jump into the air in celebration. "We're rich," they declare at the same time as they jumped in the air celebrating. The environment around them seemed to vanish as imaginary fireworks spewed into the sky, celebrating their victory as they were suddenly brought back to reality as soon as they hit the ground. "Woohoo! Now what?" Jiro asked, still dumbfounded by them winning the prize. Izuku breathed hard. "I don't know. I never thought we would ever get this far, to be honest," said Midoriya. "Well, or what would you do with that money?" Jiro asked. "I guess I'll get all of us all money for Universal Studios Japan and go on all the rides like the Grand Americana All Might ride. And then we'll go to the Sato restaurant and order their most expensive meals. Midoriya blurts out, which gives Jiro an idea of what to get with that money. Oh, we could get VIP tickets to a Deep Dove concert, front row seats, meet and greet, and all that. And then I could get them to sign all my music stuff. Jiro blurted out in response. It's a fun moment of two nerds of different things fanboying/girling over their favorite fixations. Oh. Or maybe you'll put it in my bank like a responsible adult. Midoriya thought out loud, which made Jiro burst out laughing. Yeah, let's be super lame. Jiro said jokingly. What be responsible and have fanatical logic? Nah. Some seconds later, they recovered and rushed to Mineta, their hands shaking in anticipation. So, Mineta, how about we say or go to the bank so we can all have our money? Midoriya said, still showing his excitement. Oh, what you mean? It's my money. Mineta declares to the shock of the two. What? How is it yours, you graped son of Dash? Jiro yelled, ready to throw hands with the grape boy until restrained by Midoriya, who didn't want thing to end in violence. I used my power to get that money, so I can claim 100% of the prize earnings. Simple. Mineta said confidently as he pulled the ticket into his pocket, grabbed his bag, and started walking away. Hey, wait a second. If it wasn't for us, then you wouldn't have decided to do all of that. You would have never gotten the 7.5 million yen, Midoriya argues back. He ain't one for causing drama, but he and Jiro aren't getting scammed. Mineta turns around with a grin. Well, I could give you some money if you give me a little peek of your TI. Aura. Mineta was cut off as he was punched in the face by Star Platinum's fist, sending him to the floor. Whoa, holy moly, Izuku. Jiro said, shocked at Midoriya's actions. Sorry, I just couldn't stand him talking to you like that. Midoriya apologized as he dusted off his hands. Yeah, thanks, what a disgusting perv. Although I for one wouldn't be on the receiving end of one of your punches, Jiro comments. I mean, I just gave him a love tap at worst, Midoriya replies as the look at Mineta on the floor with his bag's items falling onto the path as Mineta slowly gets up with a large spot on his head. Well, listen here, I'll give you a portion of the money, deal? Mineta said, still in pain from the punch. That's when the two teens noticed what Mineta's bag was full of. Panties. Suddenly, a burst of purple aura surrounded Jiro as she summoned Act 2 and pointed her earjacks up. You're a pervert stealing woman's underwear, yelled Jiro as she stomped towards Mineta. Hey, there is no need to get violent, stuttered Mineta, holding tight to the stack of panties as he quickly put them in the bag. Why you? Jiro was about to snatch it before Mineta suddenly slipped away as he was carried by the group of his stand. Hey, get back here, Midoriya yelled as he and Jiro chased after him. As Midoriya and Jiro ran through the lanes of the park, they turned a corner and Mineta vanished. Where the hell is that perverted little grape? Jiro said, annoyed as she looked around. Ack! Midoriya suddenly yelled in pain as he fell to the floor. What the? Jiro turned to Midoriya, only to feel pain herself falling to the floor. Midoriya pulled up his jeans and found Little Harvests pinching and scraping at his skin. Midoriya growled in pain. Mineta walks out of the bushes with a smirk while he holds the bump caused by Star Platinum. You have a pretty strong stand, but you can't do much when you have tens of them nimbling on you. Now that is payback, Mineta yells in victory. While in pain from the harvest scraping her skin, she turned to Midoriya as she got an idea. Hey, Green, cover your ears for this, Jiro says, with Midoriya immediately getting the memo as he covered his ears with Star Platinum. Echoes Act 2. Jiro yells as Echoes is summoned forth and writes something on the floor. Screech. Suddenly a large screech was heard as the Harvests suddenly shook off of the two and ran away due to the immense pain they were hearing, which also hurt Mineta too as he covered his ears in pain and fell to the ground, now unconscious. The two got up and snitched the lottery ticket from Mineta. We'll be taking this, thank you. A nice 3.7 million between the two of us, Jiro said smirkingly. Midoriya lightly chuckled. Meanwhile, back at home, Ida was making dinner for the entire house with his now iconic pink apron, while Aoyama and Tokoyami sit at the table. Aoyama was staring at Ida, making the food, while Tokoyami was just on his phone until Midoriya and Jiro barged through the door. GUESSWHAT 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 Midoriya and Jiro say, in perfect synergy. Midoriya, Jiro, what has caused this sudden burst of excitement? Asked Ida. Jiro handed Ida the ticket. Looks 7.5 million yen right there. We're rich beyond our wildest dreams, she said, victorious. Yeah, now we can do so much. Like go to Universal Studios, eat at all the fancy food places, and Midoriya listed off all the things they can do. Ida looked closer at the ticket and nervously coughed. I don't want to the bringer of bad news, but I'm afraid you read the numbers wrong. Ida pointed to the numbers not matching the actual lottery ticket winning number. Tokoyami, Ida and Aoyama could see the terror and shock in their green and purple-haired teammates as they comically fell to the floor deflated. What Midoriya mutters on the ground. That grape little twerp didn't read it right. Jiro muttered on the ground also. The three other teens couldn't help but laugh at their reactions. Tokoyami walked up to the two and bent down. Hey, I know that's a bummer and all, but at least you can enjoy Ida's cooking, he said, trying to lighten the mood. And I guess, Jiro said, getting up. I guess nothing beats Ida cooking, maybe except my mom's. Midoriya says too, getting up, trying to lighten his mood. So, this was the end of this series. Stay tuned for next part of this series, and if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time.